Over 15 years in the business now, nobody better in the National College Preview magazine other than Pick Six Previews himself, Brett Ciancia. We just got the hard copy version of the magazine along with the PDF over the weekend. College football is fast approaching, so let's talk some college ball with our good buddy Brett Ciancia. Hello, everyone. Lucas Hill here with the Southern Sports Scene. Make sure you all do us a favor. Hit the like and share button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, post a new video, or post a new short on the Southern Sports Scene. Every live show brought to you by our good friends at Frost Buddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use that promo code SSS15 to get 15% off your first purchase. Also, thank you to our friends at Chike Nutrition. Get every day started with a healthy, hearty cup of coffee with 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, and 1 gram of sugar. Click the link below to get 10% off of your first purchase. And as always, we want to thank our good friends and partners over at Buzzard. Make sure you download the Buzzard app today for the best in sports media. And if you want to become a verified creator, download the app today. And make sure you send in a request to our friends at Buzzard. Brett, lots to talk about, man. Good to have you on. Honored to have you on. Over closing in on nearly 15 years in the business. How about that? How are you today, man?
Yeah. Thanks, Lucas, for having me on. Appreciate it. It's the best time of year here at Pick Six Previews. Got the 2026 edition published. Got them rolling off the print press, shipping them out across the country. So lots to break down, lots to get into. I'm really excited to be on.
You have a lot of things from every conference and even in your college football playoff predictions that I kind of want to get into. And I want to start off with the ACC. Your top five, you have Clemson at 4. You're a little bit higher on Clemson than I am. I have Clemson near the bottom at around 9 or 10 right now. What is it about this roster that you like the most when you look at them on paper? I know they are arguably going to bring back a really good back seven. This is probably the best linebacking core in the ACC. Obviously, a lot of questions at quarterback with Chris Vizina. Is he the guy at the end of the day? Majority of your receiving core is going to come back. Just what else have you seen from them that you can see from Clemson being still a top 5 team in the ACC?
Yeah, well, with Clemson, last year was supposed to be the year they cashed in. And with Dabo's formula, he's very anti-transfer portal. But what that means is every few years you want to cash in with a veteran roster and go win an ACC, go make a playoff run. Last year they had 18 starters back, and 9 of them eventually became NFL draft picks, and they only won, 7 games. So very disappointing season last year. When you flip it forward to this year, now they're the younger version of Clemson. There are a lot of young starters, first-time starters. And I was ready to throw them far outside the top 25, but really what you like about Clemson is their high school recruiting. It's still pretty solid. It's still right there with Miami as 1A, 1B within the conference. Now, there's no transfer activity, but that high school recruiting base that they've built, a lot of top 200, a lot of 5-star prospects, is enough to keep them in the top 5 for me in the ACC. Love the receiver core. Love the linebackers. I think they both made my national top 15 units there. The lines of scrimmage are going to be younger, but there are a lot of blue chip guys. And I think that at this point, you trust the coaching staff to round out a solid starting 5. So that's where I've got Clemson. I got them 4th. I don't think they're an ACC contender this year, but I don't think you can throw them really that far out of the top 25. So just on recruiting alone. Now, their season's going to be judged on 2 things. It's the quarterback spot and the offensive line. They lost all 5 starters from last year. And Dabo notoriously did not sign a single lineman or a single quarterback from the portal. So going all in on his own roster, I respect it. But win or lose, it's going to come down to that decision there.
Yeah, and in my opinion, with the way that he recruits through the portal, which he's already stated, especially at media days this past week, if it works at the quarterback position, it works. But we're not going to go spend a whole lot of money on a high-profile quarterback. Look, I understand the morals aspect of that, and he understands what has happened before. But there's got to be a point in time where you got to just bite the bullet and take a chance on this. But, it's really interesting, the fact that you already mentioned they don't sign any linemen, which obviously would kind of would lead to Clemson taking more of a step backwards. This is obviously already a young offensive line to start the season that struggled majority of the season, especially in ACC play. Do you expect them to kind of be around the same that they were this past year, or do you think they've taken them a step forward?
I think pretty similar, actually. Yeah, I don't see any crazy shot up to the top 10, and I don't see any really huge breakdown outside of bowl season. So I think they'll be about the same. Yeah, I was just looking at teams behind them in the ACC, and it's hard to argue to. I'd like to know who you had top five because I mean I was looking like Virginia Tech's a good wild card pick, but again, coaching change, a lot of transfers coming in. UVA and Duke, last year's title contenders. I just think they lose a lot of players, especially Duke. I buried them in the ACC predictions. So it's just, yeah, I think going into the research process, I was ready to throw Clemson way out of the mix, but they were strong enough for me. There you go on the screen here. We got it. So, yeah, I like your top three. I like Miami, SMU, Louisville. Okay, so Pittsburgh, I like that one. Mason Heinschel coming back. A team like Pitt, I wasn't sure what to do with them because I love their quarterback. I love Pat Narduzzi's defense every year, but they lost 6 starters to the transfer portal. They were kind of poached, and they didn't sign any. They didn't backload, so very interesting. But yeah, to wrap up the Clemson discussion, the old dynasty is over, and I think that they're a solid top 25 caliber team. But yeah, I don't see them contending for the ACC.
I'm sleepy on Cal a little bit as well. I have them going 8-4 at the end of the year. I have these right now for my power rankings. These are obviously going to be subject to change by the time we get to week 1 officially, but I really like Cal for some reason. I don't know I know from what you've seen, you return JKS this upcoming season, but right now you have them at 11th, I believe, which I thought was a little bit of a surprise. But for a team with a first-year head coach in Tosh Lupoy, I thought they had some really good additions in the portal with Adam Muhammad that comes in at running back. That definitely brings an extra gear to your running game. JKS, like I mentioned, you loaded up in the receiving corps despite losing a guy like Jacob DeJesus in the offseason. Yeah, just kind of break that down a little bit for me. I was kind of surprised you had them that low.
Yeah, I love the hire. I like bringing back a guy to his alma mater. He was fired up. I had a chance to talk to him on the phone, Tosh Lupoy, and really energetic, really passionate guy. He's a great recruiter too, and he's got a great track record recruiting. Actually signed a top 10 class with Cal way back in the day, and then kept it going at Alabama, then at Oregon. So the recruiting's certainly there. He showed it right away too with that receiver room that he put together, and I really like what they did, adding some parts for JKS to throw to. So offense-wise, I like it. Offensive line has been brutal there for a while, but they do bring back 4 guys, so it's veteran. But will it become a above-average unit? I'm not sure yet. So offense, yeah, we'll see. Defense, again, it's a lot of transfer portal activity. It's some gambles here and there. I like their secondary, but a lot of questions for me. So in the grand scheme of things, I found some more surefire picks above them, but I do like what they did with Cal going forward. Look for them in a couple years to be a contender. Just the way that he recruits.
So let's move on to the Big Ten. You have USC right now 4th. Okay, I'm going to be as brutally honest as I can about USC. I don't trust them. Even with 15 returning starters coming back, I know the track record that Lincoln Riley has had. I can argue that this is the best team that they will have arguably had during his tenure at USC, even dating back to when they had Caleb Williams at the quarterback position. But I just don't see a scenario where USC is going to be able to break the threshold. You have them as a playoff contender right now. I just don't see it, honestly. What intrigues you about USC this year?
Yeah, well, I think you're right to start with the offense. With Lincoln Riley, he's got such a track record on that side of the ball. He brings back Jaden Maiava, who was a top 5 guy in quarterback rating last year. The running backs are back healthy. Receivers do lose a couple NFL picks there with Lemon and Jacoby Lane gone, but you just always have a stable there. It's a couple of former top 200 prospects at receiver. Like what they have there. I also stole a couple starters from other Power 4 teams. So, offense, I'm fine with the offense. 4 linemen are back on the O-line. So I know what I'm getting with the Riley offense. What started to catch my eye is this defense finally. It looks like they're turning a corner. Last cycle, the 2025 cycle, they signed a couple 5-star defensive linemen. Jakeem Stewart here into all freshmen, all-American freshmen. And then this year, the number 1 overall class in the country, high school-wise. So it's young. It's a lot of youth. It's a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, but I really like what they have defensively, especially that defensive line. Love the hire, too. They brought Gary Patterson over, the Mr. TCU. He, 20 years coaching dominant defenses at TCU. I know the game has changed slightly, but he's ready to do it. And he said he's never had a defensive line this big. So he's got a lot of talent to play with, and I think it's going to work out well. And I think really on a bigger issue, I think the Big Ten is going to get 4, and the SEC will get 4 teams in. Compared to last year, it was a 5-3 split with the SEC getting 5. I just think an extra round of conference games, the SEC is going to beat each other up another game. It's just math. And I think you're going to have a lot more 9-3 resumes to compare. So I think the Big Ten gets 4, and USC is my 4th team in there.
Do you see a scenario? Do you have USC winning 10 games?
No, I think 9-3. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to have a lot of 9-3 action. Last year, 10-2 was the big debate card. And you saw the SEC, you had like Oklahoma, Alabama, all at 10-2. I think that it's going to be a lot of 9-3s. So as long as USC can knock off one of those big boys, I think they play all 3 playoff tier teams, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, and then I believe Washington. So and maybe Penn State as well. So they have enough ranked opponents on there that I think a 9-3 being the 4th Big Ten team, I think will get a bid. I mean, the Big Ten, they've won 3 straight national titles, 3 different teams. I know the SEC might be more top heavy in the top half, but in terms of playoff, they should be able to get the same amount of bids as the SEC this year.
I love this last part. 2026 is playoff or bust for USC. And I think that's the mentality around college football in general. I think they realize that Lincoln Riley misses the college football playoff again with the amount of talent that he has. The conversations are going to be start to have going into this offseason about his future, what USC could look for in a new head coach. And you look at the next year, which obviously is going to be a rebuild with the amount of starters that they're going to lose. It's no question that it quite possibly could be the end of the Lincoln Riley dynasty. But I just don't see it at the end of the day this year. I think the victory bell at the end of the year between USC and UCLA, and I've been very, very real about this, it's going to be almost a play-in for the playoff.
Wow, okay. Wow, that's huge. First-time coach Bob Chesney. Yeah, I mean, hey, he had James Madison in the playoff and brought a lot of his guys with him to Westwood. Okay. Man, that would be a heck of a matchup. I might have to fly to LA to watch that if that's a playing game.
I know you have them 13th right now, but I'm telling you, I would have UCLA right now teeter-tottering on that top 7 team in the Big Ten. I really believe that they're going to make that type of a leap forward this year. And because of the offense that you're going to bring, I think Dean Kennedy is a phenomenal play caller. I think with him pairing with Nico Iamaleava, I think that Nico's game is going to be elevated so much more. He's going to be more mobile this year. He's going to be more comfortable. This is probably the best situation that he's been in his entire career. Even whenever he was at Heupel in his first full year as a starter, you never really felt that he was comfortable running that offense. I think we're going to see the best version of Nico Iamaleava that we've ever seen before. I believe that he will become a Heisman dark horse at the end of the season. I see a scenario where UCLA's schedule favors them. They could be on the high end, a 10-2 team, maybe even just a 9-3 team that could just barely miss out on the playoff. I really do believe that victory bell game is going to be the defining game for them, seeing if they get into a playoff or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of the Signetti formula. It's bringing up a lot of James Madison players that he had success with over there. So if you love that angle when you're printing a team, if you love bringing transfers and starters from your old school, that's your pick. I mean, UCLA has a lot of JMU guys, a lot of all Sun Belt performers, guys that were top of their conference at JMU, a lot of pro prospects too. If you look at the pro charts, so yeah, okay, a little sleeper action. I like it.
Going to the Big 12, and I see that you have TCU at 4th. I'm not hating on it, honestly. I think it just seems like every other year TCU has one of these seasons where they just exceed all sorts of expectations. Jaden Craig comes in from Harvard. I really do believe he's one of the better FCS to FBS transfers out there right now. I think he's going to make a phenomenal impact through the air, even with the absence of a guy like Kendall Briles, that offensive coordinator. I think TCU is still going to be loaded this year. Gordon Samus is a phenomenal play caller too. Sonny Dykes has done a really good job with the way that his offense is run. Samus was with UConn this past year that had a phenomenal year through the year last year, had some really good talent through where that offense took off with Skylar Bell, with the guy that was a quarterback, Joe. I don't remember his last name, but I mean, phenomenal season from them this past year from an offensive standpoint. You're a very you look at them from a defensive line perspective. You think that this is probably going to be one of the better defensive lines in the Big 12. Just talk to me about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think every year with the preview magazine, you go conference by conference, and there's some areas that are just really hard to pick. The Big 12 this year, the middle of the Big 12 is such a logjam of solid teams. They're all top 40 caliber. Really hard to separate these teams. I'm talking Utah, TCU, Houston, the Arizona schools, Kansas State with a transitional year, Houston. Ultimately, I went TCU out of this whole bunch of teams, and it's not the they don't get all the off the field, headlines. It's not big transfer portal activity, but what it was elite recruiting over the years. And when you look at it within the Big 12, if you look at 2023 to 2025 high school recruiting, these are players that are now in their second, third, and fourth years at TCU. They ranked number 1, number 2, and then number 1 again in Big 12 recruiting. So they recruit just like Texas Tech from the high school ranks. It's just that they don't supplement it with the transfer portal as much. But you listen to Coach Dykes talk. He talks about all they went for was roster retention. They wanted to keep these great recruits at TCU, and I think they did. Aside from their quarterback Josh Hoover, really the rest of the roster has been retained. So a little bit quiet, and no one's really talking about them because it wasn't in the transfer activity. But it's a really solid team. Love the receivers, especially that defensive line you brought up. So many guys back. Chapman on the edge. Deal in the middle. So I really like it. And what else? Yeah, it's all about Jaden Craig at quarterback, the Harvard transfer from the FCS ranks. I think he's going to be solid. Maybe not all Big 12, but enough to keep it going. And I think you have a lot of talent in this roster. And then one last thing, they just released it a couple days ago, the East-West Shrine Bowl. It's one of those college all-star games. They put out their NFL watch list. TCU number 2 in the Big 12 in terms of NFL draft watch list picks, only behind Texas Tech. So I think there's a lot of talent here, very quietly in Fort Worth.
I want to ask you about Utah now, because I don't know what it is about Utah. I just envision a scenario where they go undefeated this year. I don't know what it is. I know that they lost a lot from the offensive line. I know that they lost their head coach. The Big 12 always seems to surprise you at times. And I feel like there's always this team that just kind of takes your eye, and you just wonder to yourself, there's going to be a season where they're going to exceed expectations, and they're going to do something that you don't really expect. I think it's Utah this year. I really do believe that they could potentially go 12-0 this year. Morgan Scalley is a phenomenal play caller on the defensive side of the ball. Russian defense obviously has to improve this year. And it doesn't really help that you lose one of your top edge rushers in John Henry Daly, who's now at Michigan. It doesn't help from a front four perspective that they're obviously going to struggle at times. So who knows, man? I don't know what it is, man. But I think if Utah improves significantly on that defensive front, I expect them to take a big step forward. And I think that they could potentially be the reason why they go undefeated this year.
Yeah, well, I think with Utah, I put this in the preview magazine. When you see a coaching change, sometimes you don't know what the new program is going to look like. But in this case, I said simply, Utah is still Utah. Yeah, we've seen Morgan Scalley in Salt Lake City for like 20 years. His defense has been phenomenal year after year. They lost some star power to Michigan when Kyle Whittingham left to take over the Michigan job. John Henry Daly, like you mentioned, Smith Stoden, their all Big 12 corner is gone. A couple receivers and tight ends gone. But to get behind your 12-0 storyline, I think it's all about the quarterback, Devin Dampier. He is so elusive in the pocket. It's hard to get a finger on the guy. He can also score from anywhere on the field. He'll tuck it and run 80 yards. So dynamic quarterback. Yeah, the lines of scrimmage are questionable just because they lost so many starters. I mean, 2 offensive linemen were picked in the first round alone. So that's a big area to replace. But if anyone's built to do it, it's Utah. I mean, they tend to do this every year on the trenches. So, okay, yeah, 12-0 call. Hey, it wouldn't surprise me if that BYU game in early November is a play into the Big 12 title game. So maybe not 12-0, but definitely playoff implications there in November.
Looking at the SEC now, you have Oklahoma in a tie with Texas for second. We've already talked about kind of the 9-game schedule already for the SEC. I'm looking at my schedule predictions. I have really a scenario where I believe only one SEC team ends up with 11 plus wins. I do see scenarios where we have no team at all in the SEC get 11 plus. With obviously that creates a huge divot for the SEC. I mean, you already mentioned it. We could see a lot of 9-3 teams this year in the SEC, but I'm kind of surprised you have Oklahoma kind of high. I know that they have arguably one of the better defenses in all of the SEC. John Mateer returns. You return a pretty good core at the wide receiver position. Satanga is back. I'm kind of surprised you had them over Ole Miss, because kind of take me through that decision. What ultimately was the deciding factor in putting a team like Oklahoma over a team like Ole Miss?
Yeah, well, actually, people usually complain I picked them over Texas because Texas is really the offseason, kings of the sport this year. And I actually have Oklahoma playing Georgia in the SEC title game instead of Texas. So with Oklahoma, I love the defense. I mean, you talked about it. Could be the best in the country again. It was top 5 for me on defense last year. A lot of starters back. I think 6 all-SEC guys are back. Phenomenal talent. So I know what I have on that side. Really, the playoff pick of Oklahoma and the SEC title appearance pick of Oklahoma is kind of a gamble on coaching on the offensive side of the ball. I really believe in Ben Arbuckle, the offensive coordinator. He's a younger guy, but he's had success everywhere. Western Kentucky, he broke all the passing records. And last year was a transitional year for him. I think a second year now at Oklahoma, second year in the SEC. Same deal with their quarterback, John Mateer, second year at Oklahoma, second year in the SEC. This time with a healthy hand. Remember, his hand was busted half the season. So I think the combo of those two in a second year together. Also, the offensive line was extremely young last year. They were a lot of true freshmen, redshirt freshmen. But these guys are talented enough that I think 7 linemen transferred out. The backups are veteran guys behind them. So I think it's a really solid young offensive line. And I'm really going to bet on their coach, Beatenbow, big O-line coach. He's phenomenal. He's had a great track record there. So a little bit of a gamble on the coaching prowess on the offensive side of the ball and maybe a second-year bump for John Mateer. But altogether, I like Oklahoma to return to the bracket.
I really like Coach B. He's been there for the past 10-plus years. Really phenomenal developer as an offensive line coach. He's been one of the better offensive line coaches in all of college football over the past couple of years. You talked about the offseason kings in Texas. Are you buying the hype this year compared to the last 2 years that we've hyped Texas up to be a national championship favorite? Or is it just because obviously the target on Steve Sarkisian's back is very big at this point?
A lot of pressure on Sark. It's because when you have a kind of budget like he does, I mean, it's the number one budget in America for college football. So at some point, you want to at least be making the playoff. Last year, unacceptable missing the playoff. With a budget and pressure like that, you got to at least make it. Yeah, some people are calling national title or bust. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the guy. But yeah, they went out and gave Arch Manning a lot of solid pieces around him offensively. 2 of the best running backs in the country now behind him with Hollywood Smothers, Raleek Brown coming from Arizona State. And then arguably the best receiver. I mean, I know Jeremiah Smith, number 1, maybe Malachi Toney in the slot, but number 3 or, number 2 on the outsides would be Cam Coleman for me, the Auburn transfer coming to Texas. So not only that, but it opens up Ryan Wingo, another 5-star receiver. Like this offense has so much firepower. It's a little bit younger in the defensive backfield, and the offensive line maybe wants to get a little bit more of a consistent run push. But yeah, I mean, Texas should be top 10, should be playoff. I don't have them playing in Atlanta. I want to kind of see them prove it a little bit more to me than we saw last year, but definitely a playoff caliber team.
What do you see from their counterpart, Texas A&M? I think Marcel Reed is definitely going to evolve as more of a passer, but he still has had that label of he's a running back playing the quarterback position. What do you think of Texas A&M this year, despite losing a lot on both sides of the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, well, with Reed, first off, I mean, he was solid last year. Remember, they started 11-0, and he was really in the Heisman discussion until that final game. I know he threw a couple bad picks there in the end zone against Texas, but really a solid year for him. Now he's back again, another year as a starter. They do lose Casey Concepcion at receiver, but they bring back Craver, and they really supplemented well from the portal. They took Alabama starter Horton and a couple other guys too. So I like their receivers. You're right that the line of scrimmage caught my eye right away, and I was ready to throw them out of the top 25 when I saw that they were going to lose 8 of their 9 linemen if you combine 5D line, 4 or 5-0 line, 4D line. But they replenished it really well again from the portal. Anto Saka coming in from Northwestern's a top 10 projection in the NFL draft. 4 starters off the SEC, 4 SEC starters off other teams on the offensive line. So very veteran again. One thing to note with them is schedule, where last year, when you look back, they drew 7 of the bottom 8 in the conference. So, I don't want to do revisionist history here. They were 11-0. They deserved it, but very easy slate last year. That now flips to a tough one, drawing 5 of the top 8. So you have like 5 playoff tests throughout the year compared to maybe 1 last year. So schedule heats up. I don't think they're going to make the playoff, but they're still a solid top 15 team.
And even when you look at the way that they won some of those games, it was just off to a slow start in the first half, and they were always a second half type of team, it felt like. And it came back to bite them against teams like Texas and Miami down the stretch. We'll see what happens with Texas A&M. I have them maybe 7-5 or 8-4 this year, but I still have them barely sitting outside. Still have them slightly inside the top 25 as we begin the season. So to wrap it up here, you have Oregon winning it all. And I think they're the general consensus this year. Arguably the best defense in the country. Do you buy Dante Moore to improve this year despite the loss of Will Stein?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to be a Heisman candidate. I think he's going to be awesome. And I know they lose their coordinator, but they also added some receivers to help him out a little bit. And they had some injuries at the position last year, but now you get back the original number 1 receiver, Evan Stewart, is healthy. DeCorian Moore is back. A couple other top 100 former top 100 freshmen and true freshmen are there. Like McClellan's back. Another good tight end to throw to. Big offensive line. So I think the parts around him are just as solid. And this offense was top 5 in all my opponent adjusted numbers. The overall, the rushing, the passing, they had it all. And I think with a stable of running backs behind him, I can't find any flaw. And then defensively, the way that they have stockpiled 5 stars is unbelievable. The defensive line, all 4 guys made my All Big Ten team. And then the secondary, there's like 5 stars back there in the 2 deep. So, this is the year for Oregon. In fact, 12 months ago in the 2025 edition of my magazine, I wrote down, I'm not picking them this year, but I will pick Oregon next year in 2026. And then here we are 12 months later. I'm sticking with it. They're my 2026 pick.
It's going to be a fun year in college football. Guys, make sure you go on over to pick6previews.com. Go get Brett's book. Fantastic information. Been one of the most accurate preview magazines over the past 10 years. Brett, where else can we find some of your great work? I know you have 2 other versions of the Pick 6 Previews magazine.
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, hey, good talking with you, Lucas. Glad to be on the show. It's that time of year again. It's preview magazine season. So go on pick6previews.com. We have samples, testimonials. We have a digital version. We have a hard copy magazine, which Lucas just showed you. If you buy the hard copy, you get the digital right away. So for those few days where it's being shipped, you have access. And then if you like the magazine, you'll love the in-season product too, where it's called Pick 6 Plus. I email you every Tuesday with the new stats, the new information, game recaps, picks, projections, against the spread picks, everything you could want every Tuesday in your email inbox. So, go check them all out, pick6previews.com.
Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 Previews, joining us on the Southern sports scene. Guys, thank you all for watching us. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we post a new video. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Y'all have a good day.